So where exactly can you hear Tobacco Road Sports Radio?
Oh, North Carolina, Kernersville, Salisbury, you know what I'm saying? Burlington. I didn't bring up Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte.
For the best in live sports debate, live sporting events, and more, tune in to Tobacco Road Sports Radio. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Archdale.
This is LaMelo Ball, and you're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM, your home for Hornets basketball in the Triad.
Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
You know, no matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome, happy Saturday, happy Rivalry Saturday to the entire Triad. Y'all already know what it is. You knew what it was when you came in today. It's UNC versus Duke, Rivalry Saturday, regular season finale, senior night in the Dean Dome. Best rivalry in sports. I don't care they're not ranked. It's the best rivalry in sports. Desmond Johnson here with you. WWBG 1470 AM every Saturday morning live here with the Rundown. Got a special panel. It's UNC Duke the entire hour. So go tell your friends. Get on Twitter. If you want to talk about it, now's the time to do it. With us, first I'll introduce, it's almost kind of like it's WrestleMania season. So we kind of got it like a tag team main event type thing going on. Some of the best podcasts out from both teams. Starting off over on the Tar Heel side, he is the host of Locked on College Basketball and Locked on Heels. Isaac Schade in the house. What's going on, Isaac?
What's up, Des? How you doing?
I'm good, man. This is the best I've probably felt in about 3 months going into when talking about Carolina basketball. It feels like we'll get into it in a second. Over on the other side, you may recognize both these gentlemen. They're from the Devil's Den podcast, Josh Smith and Dustin Shoe in the house. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? Glad to be here.
Yes, yeah, man.
So I thought about this because I was like, normally Rundown, it's an hour long. We kind of bounce around. We get a lot of Panthers coverage, Hornets, ACC hoops, football, things of that sort, except when it's UNC Duke. When it's UNC Duke, usually I clear the board out. I'll have B-Dot come through. Chris Lee comes through. Guys that I know that are UNC or Duke devoted diehards. And I bring in usually ones that are podcast hosts or beat writers. We had Steve Wiseman and R.L. Bynum on Franchise Players on Friday talking about everything. So you guys were the first three I thought of to bring on to discuss this. And we got a great show for today. What we're going to do today, of course, we're going to get into the game itself. That'll be a little bit later on in the hour. But before we do that, though, we're going to have a little fun. I gave the guys a homework assignment, basically. Your starting five for the past 25 years for your team. We're going to go around by position and kind of figure this out. And I'm going to write these down as we're doing them so I can kind of see which team might be the most formidable and who might win out of, because we might have, that Final Four between those four teams, see who might win this matchup. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. You can't go back beyond 1998, which would be 25 years ago. So from 1998 to present, I posted in our Facebook group for Carolina and Duke, the rivalry. Somebody had posted like a list of all the 5-star kids that have come through Duke since 2013. I looked at it's like 40 names. It's like rolling down, and it's a wide array of different ones. So I'm very curious to see what Josh and Dustin pick because they had a lot to choose from. Matter of fact, let me start off with Josh. Let's start off with one of the more important positions here, point guard, leader of the team. You've got a lot of point guards that were at Duke from 98 to present day. I'm very curious to see who you might select for this. So going first, Josh Smith selects at point guard.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit of a combo guy, and this is because I want to get up and down, and I really want to push the pace. So I'm going Jay Will, my guy, 01 national champion, retired jersey, national player of the year. We're going to get out and run. So I'm going Jason Williams.
That's not a bad pick. That's not a bad pick at all. Shout out to Jay Will for standing up to Stephen A. Smith. Every time I've turned it on First Take the past 2 months, he's been going at it with him. Isaac, for the Carolina side, starting off at point guard, who you got?
One of the parts of my approach to this is I actually selected a specific season for the player as well. So
I kind of did that too. Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking Ty Lawson in 2008, 2009, 16.6 points per game, 6.6 assists per game, 53.2% from the field as a guard, like just shy of 50% from 3 and 2.1 steals per game. I mean, kind of same as what Josh was just talking about there. I want to get up and down a little bit. And so, man, I love this Jay Will, Ty Lawson matchup. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would.
And just, I mean, you might remember Tyler Hansbrough was hurt a lot of that year in the early part. And so really Ty Lawson took that team a lot on his back and really made it go. And so I'm going with Lawson.
That's a good one too. All these are going to be good. So Dustin, you're up, buddy. What you got for your this was the greatest rivalry in all of sports.
Yeah, and if I don't know if we're doing the same thing because I'm having a feeling that Josh and I are going to have a pretty similar list. I had Jay Will as well. I mean, you're talking about a national champion, national player of the year, was Duke's single season scoring leader at like 809 points in one season. Just like Josh said, gets up and down the floor. Remember the 16 straight buckets against UCLA in the 0-1 tournament. Of course, the Miracle Minute. Just a lot of great memories with that guy. A little shaky from the free throw line every once in a while.
I was gonna say,
unusually just can make a step back three, but free throws. Whatever.
He's always been one of my big what ifs pro wise. Because he had the makings to be a 10 to 15 year all-star, like in my opinion. And he was getting set up well in Chicago. And then of course had the motorcycle accident early in his career and had to retire. I wonder if that happened today, if with medical advances or whatnot, would he be able to play today?
I mean, Tiger's playing again, so
that's right.
He tried to, man, but his leg was shattered. It was brutal.
Kind of like watching Bo Jackson after he came back from the hip replacement, where it's just like, dude, you ain't supposed to be out here. Anyway, trying to do this.
Yeah, Duke guards need a chauffeur. I mean, Bobby Hurley, had the same thing. So it's a crazy what if for sure.
Man, I had some trouble with this actually, trying to figure out who to narrow it down to, and I got down to Ed Cota and Joel Berry, and I ended up going with Berry for the shooting. And like Isaac, I kind of did it off of year. So at 2017, Joel Berry, where he's hitting like 40% from 3, he's directing traffic. The Heels are scoring like 88 points a game. He kind of came into his own that junior year, and really, it's almost like I don't want to say we didn't miss Marcus Page because he was definitely missed, but he filled in the hole very admirably for that team so that it really was a business trip in terms of them coming back and going back in 2017.
And it's not getting some bionic ankles. He's got to get some bionic ankles.
Yeah. Because other than that, honorable mention to Ed Cota. I think he gets
high dribble Ed, huh?
Yeah,
that thing up here in the shoulder. I remember him.
He had the perfect alley-oop partner in Vince Carter too. They were showtime. And he was just a perfect Carolina floor general to me in terms of directing traffic. He had some horses with him, and he was able to keep everybody happy. So he was an honorable mention for me. And of course, Marcus Page would be in there somewhere too. But Joel actually won a ring. Went there twice, 2 Final Fours, won back to back. So I had to go with Joel Berry. Josh, let's go to shooting guard. Who you got at shooting guard for you?
This is the easiest pick for Duke fans, right? Going JJ Redick, number 4. At the time he was the all-time leading scorer until your boy broke it. But yeah, JJ Redick.
Jonathan Clay.
Yeah, I don't even no superlatives are necessary for that, right? Like we all remember. Well, if you're old enough like us, you remember those days. But
and we're gonna do biggest villains in this rivalry in segment 2, and I'm sure Mr. Redick's name's going to pop up somewhere in that segment. I gotta admit though, man, it's something about when these Duke dudes get behind a microphone after their playing career's over, because I love Jay Billis, and I'm starting to really like JJ Redick. Like he really. Now, some of his takes are a little like wild, like the whole Larry Bird in a good 3-point shooter or whatever that was last week. No, I watched Larry Bird. Larry would talk.
Well,
to you
he did qualify it though, because he was saying, Larry takes 1.9 per game. So he's one of the greatest shooters. I just can't put him up there with a guy that's shooting 9 or 10 a game and making 4 of them. And so
he shot like 38% or something for his career.
Yeah, percentage wise. But then he said, Richard Jefferson's also a 38% 3-point shooter, and I don't put him up there.
Because Richard was probably sitting right beside him on the panel when he said.
Well, I would love to see Larry Legend in the modern NBA.
Yes.
Like, what would be different about his skill set? And man, that'd be fun.
I'm trying to think of somebody that you could kind of compare him to. Luka, maybe.
Luka, Dirk.
Because Luka can't really jump. Luka
Nobody's ever just went left-handed for 27 points just for the fun of it. You know?
Yeah. Or told a guy coming out of the break where
I'm shooting here.
Right. Yeah.
The other team's about to shoot the last second shot, and he's telling you where you're supposed to go and what you're going to do. Isaac, who you got for your shooting guard?
I really wanted to take Rashad McCants, but I also wanted to live and not be villainized by the Carolina fan base.
Yeah, remember you got to go home, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to go, since we can go back to 98, give me Shammond Williams in that 97-98 season.
Okay.
16.8 points a game, 161 assists, exactly 40% from the 3-point line while taking 215 of them. Now, I know there's leftover trauma from his horrible performance in the Final Four that people won't want to get it, but man, that dude, yeah. Give me Shammond Williams with Lawson setting him up. Come on, man, that's ridiculous.
And Shammond's one of those dudes where like Carolina always, especially Dean and then early Roy, especially Dean, where Dean would either get like top North Carolina high school kids. Like the top North Carolina kid would always go to North Carolina when Dean was there pretty much. And then he would always have like a 3-star kid that like freshman year, you'd see him a little bit, sophomore year, a little bit more, junior year, he's probably committing. By senior year, dude's starting and is like shooting the lights out. That was Shammond Williams. Like nobody saw Shammond Williams coming. And like, he just kind of got better and better and better each year under Dean. And by the time he got to senior year, he was stroking the ball, man. He was doing really, really good. Dustin, who you got a shooting guard for your all-time?
I mean, like Josh said, that's a no-brainer there. You just got to go with the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, y'all are 2 for 2, man. Yeah, we go 5 for 5 on y'all.
I mean, look, spoiler alert. There's a trend to my 5, and I think Josh would pick up on it. But JJ didn't win a national championship. Had that chance in 05, came up short against UConn with Okafor and Ben Gordon.
And we had Georgia Tech waiting on us, and there is no chance you're convinced me we're losing that game.
Yeah,
absolutely zero chance for losing Georgia Tech.
Off.
Yeah. But JJ, National Player of the Year, had that great season in 06. It just, he lost his legs against LSU, and Big Baby Davis sent him home.
Wasn't a great tournament player, oddly enough. Just wasn't a great ACC tournament player, but wasn't a great NCAA tournament player for
great big game player too. He usually showed up for the big games and
41 against Texas when we were number 1 versus number 2. That was
gave Carolina 35 in the Dome that year too. That was a great game.
Infuriating Duke player probably of the past 25 years, except for maybe Grayson Allen. But Grayson Allen had a little bit of JJ Redick in him. JJ Redick was full blown turn up volume 10. We don't like you. And a lot of it, we don't like you because he was so textbook in terms of his shot. Like you kind of knew it was going in as it left his hands. He was square. Like you knew, like it was just like perfect form. And that was the most annoying thing about it was how perfect his form was. And he was kind of one of those dudes before Steph Curry became in range where it was like, as soon as he crosses half court, a couple steps in, he's pretty much in range. Give him a couple steps in. Steph took that to a whole nother level. And Steph is like parking lot at this point.
JJ's, most people will think about his shooting, obviously, when you call his name, but one of his biggest plays in the Carolina rivalry, and Joshua remembers sniffing out that play where he just kind of, locked up McCants and they had to get it to, was it David Noel took that corner 3. Carolina had a chance to win it in the Dean Dome, and JJ just knew the play was coming and sniffed it out.
I can't argue with JJ Redick. That's good so far. So I'm up shooting guard. I had problems with this because I had 2 guys and I couldn't remember for sure if they were shooting guards or small forwards. I want to say they played a lot at shooting guard. I picked Vince Carter at shooting guard.
He could be either position. Yeah.
He kind of went between small forward and shooting guard a lot.
We'll allow it.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes me feel a little better because I wrote it down. I was like, did he? I want to say he played small forward, but Vince, I mean, what can you say? Probably one of the greatest in-game dunkers in ACC history. Wasn't even starting beginning freshman year, and then got in there. Him and Jameson, Ed Cota, like that squad. That might be one of the funnest Carolina teams of my lifetime. That stretch of 3 years with Carter and Jameson and Ed Cota. Like Vince Carter has highlights of like dunk. I vividly remember him embarrassing Tim Duncan on a dunk. He had one. It was on Duke. I think it was Cherokee Parks. He fouled Cherokee Parks out of a game on an alley-oop dunk from underneath the goal, like out of bounds. Like it was the craziest thing I ever seen. He did it 2 hands. Like he caught it midair and dunked it on Cherokee, and then fouled out Cherokee Parks on the play. And I was like, I've never seen that before. Like that was crazy. He's done 360s and just I could throw up a Vince Carter highlight reel and just sit there for hours and watch it. So I wish they had not played as poorly as they did in that Final Four game. What was it, Arizona, I think they were playing. Utah.
Yeah.
That was their best
Rick
shot.
Majerus, you know.
Yeah.
They should have won that one. They should have won that one.
They could not shoot that night. I remember, like, they just missed everything.
Like Keith Van Horn. I mean, Utah wasn't bad.
No,
You know,
but Carolina should have won that.
Yeah,
they should have won that game. Like they only lost like 3 or 4 games that whole year, and then ran to that Utah team. Back to you, Josh. We're at small forward. Who you got for small forward?
Going back to 01, arguably my favorite Duke player, going, Mr. Basketball, Shane Battier, one of the winningest players all time. I wanted some defense. I wanted some 3-and-D, so I think he speaks for himself. You saw what him doing in Miami when we got there with LeBron. That's kind of the knock, right? LeBron couldn't win without Shane. So there we go. So yeah, he can play anywhere, but I'm going to slot him at the 3 for me. So 3-and-D, Shane Battier.
I think he's the ultimate glue guy. Like you got to have a guy like Shane Battier on your team.
Incredibly smart. If you listen to him talk about how he like defends and like what he's doing and like the angles that he takes, just incredibly smart.
Is he still active? He's still playing?
No, I think now he's he's like head of basketball operations or something for the Heat or something like that. Yeah,
he seems like he should be a coach or something. Front office.
He's up there, analytics. He's doing something. Yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. Isaac, who you got? Small forward.
Well, I'm going to go back to this Utah debacle, but I need a National Player of the Year on my team, and I know a lot of times he's playing power forward, but he's also a small forward. Give me Anton Jameson, 97, 98, 22.2 points per game, averaging a double-double, 10.5 rebounds, shooting 57.9% from the field. National Player of the Year. I mean, it just makes sense.
Quickest release I've probably ever seen. Yeah. For like the ball wouldn't touch the ground. Like once he got it, just boom, he's back up there. And he's another guy, like I was just saying, that the Dean would have that he'd bring him in, and you would have no idea how good this kid was. And some of them would hit immediately. Some of them took some time, like a Rayshon Terry. It would take a couple of years for him to blossom.
Yep.
But Antoine came in from the very beginning, just gobbling up doubles, and it was weird because he was from here. He was from Charlotte, like he was a Carolina kid, and it was just like, who is this kid? Because we all knew about Vince Carter. He was like the 5th ranked kid in that class. So, and we, even though it was late 90s, you couldn't like just get on the internet and watch highlight reels. We had, magazines and things.
I mean, you could. It was dial up AOL, but
you see like still pictures of Carter doing a 360.
He's athletic enough. I think he could adapt to today's game. Like he could.
Jameson,
be a consistent Jameson, be a 3-point shooter, those kind of things.
Yeah, I think it'd be even better now. Yeah. I mean, because you could put him at the 5 if you wanted to, right? If you wanted to really small ball it, you could you could throw some wild stuff out there, and you got a 40% 3-point shooter in the corner. So,
a lot of these guys that we're writing down missed out on a lot of money in the NBA. It came about 10 years too early. Dustin, you got a small forward.
I mean, I'm just going to stick with Josh. I think
I love that I'm stealing your thunder. I love that.
Yeah, I mean. Shane Battier, National Player of the Year again, national champion. Exactly. Josh? What was his record? ACC record was like 70-6.
Well, Kihei Clark just broke it, and he took him 5 years.
Right.
So,
but Kihei Clark was like 71-24. Where
the
Battier
was
literally
stuff, I won't get into that, but the 5-year stuff, we have to figure out a way of kind of separating that stuff out.
And especially since Kihei Clark's been here since 1998, it feels
and
like.
we play 20 games a year now. In the ACC, right? 18, 20 games. Not, it used to be round robin when Shane was there.
Well, and it's like, like Antoine Davis at Detroit Mercy and the all-time scoring record. Like,
how many years has he been there? 5 years?
Guys,
Fifth year.
Pistol Pete took 3 years.
And had no 3-point line.
Right. Yeah, no 3-point line. Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same for y'all. Like if Baycott comes back, I'm sure you love Baycott, but you have to also consider like, dude, Hansborough did this in 4. You can't just be erasing everything.
I thought he was going to go, but he said on Thursday that he wasn't sure this is his last home game at the Smith Center, which means he's been thinking about it. So
that is not a definitive no. That
and I don't think he's on any draft boards like high.
NIL makes it hard to do, right? Dude's in the Outer Banks, he's doing commercials. I mean, he's everywhere.
It's part of why Drew Timme came back this year. He can make more money at Gonzaga than he could playing overseas somewhere.
Oh yeah, and Armando can make way more money in Chapel Hill and be on TV more as a Tar Heel next year than in Greensboro with the Swarm, where they won't know him until they pull him up, bring him back down, and pull him up, bring him down again from the Hornets. I for my small forward, I actually picked Harrison Barnes.
Oh yeah.
I needed someone that could score quickly. The only thing with Barnes is that you didn't know when it was coming. Like it wasn't consistent enough, but he had the ability, he had the talent. He's a top 10 draft pick. I mean, he had it there. I'm glad he came back for the extra year because I felt like he needed it. I also felt like he needed to stay a third year. He needed to stay for a junior year, and then he could have maybe been the first or second pick of the draft if he really had worked on it. But he actually landed in a good situation in Golden State. They just decided to upgrade him with Kevin Durant. So, I mean, what are you going to do? I picked him. I wanted to get different eras, and I was trying to find somebody from that 2012 team that I wanted on here. And it came down to him or Kendall Marshall at my point guard. And I was like, no, I'm not taking Kendall over Joel Berry. So I went with Harrison Barnes. Where are we? Power forward. Josh Smith, power forward. Dude.
Yep. And this is my only one and done on the list, and I'm probably going to steal shoes again here. You got to go Zion, right? I just got to go Zion. All of these guys are National Player of the Year. Number one pick. I mean,
as you too. Yeah. Is that you too, Dustin? Okay.
Yeah. Most efficient player ever at Duke, probably. You know, just what he could do.
PR god.
Yeah, just unreal.
That that year, we've said it on the rundown a bunch. I think 2019 up to this point was the peak of ACC basketball for this period we're talking about, past 25 years. I mean, you had 3 1 seeds come out of it.
Yeah.
Virginia won the national championship. Duke Carolina gave us like 3 classics that year. The one in the ACC tournament when Zion actually played it.
Yeah,
one of the best Carolina Duke games of all time. And just moment when Zion blew out his shoe. Yeah. I probably watched more Duke games that year than any other year except for maybe 92. Because in 92, the Duke team they were the Beatles pretty much. So they were on like, pretty much every game was on. And every girl in my class had a Christian Laettner trapper keeper or something. But with Zion, it was almost like, I think it's because of the one and done. Because the thing with hating Duke guys, like players, they build the hate. They don't come in with the hate. Right. They do something over the course of 4 years to make you hate them, and then they stay. So that hate kind of festers. And with Zion, it was very hard to hate the kid to begin with. It was hard to hate that team.
He could have been a Tar Heel just as easily.
We thought he was going to be.
He could have been a Clemson Tiger.
Yeah. I was working at Learfield actually the night he declared, and everything was pointing to Carolina. So I'm sitting here, I'm doing a game, and I'm sitting there waiting for him to pull out that Carolina hat. And in the back of my head, I was like, what if he changed his mind at the very last second? Because all these kids are all going over here. And the rumor had been like, well, he's friends with Nasir Little. They've been talking. He's going to go over here. And when he pulled that Duke hat out, my heart just sounds like, oh no, because now I gotta root for him in a Duke uniform for 8 months at least, because the kid didn't really need to go to college. But but he's the one where his talent was good enough where he could have went on to the pros if the rule didn't exist. But him going to Duke for a year increased his popularity so much that it made him the de facto number one. And got him that money. Like if he didn't go to Duke and just went straight to the league, I've been 5th, 6th, 7th, because he grew in that year in terms of his playing ability and his notoriety. But
and there's interesting parallels to this year's team too, because RJ and Cam were both ranked ahead of him, similar to this year with Kyle being outranked by both Lively and Whitehead. You know, Now, hear me not comparing Kyle Filipowski to Zion. I'm not saying that.
All classes aren't equal, right? Yeah,
right, exactly. But I'm just saying from a ranking standpoint to what happens in the season, there's definitely parallels there.
Well, and I think depending on what recruiting service you looked at, Nas was ranked above Zion and one of them, right?
At one point,
Zion was like 4th.
Zion was like 4th.
That's what I'm saying. That class came in 2019. That was a loaded high school senior class that came in.
It was.
Virginia had just lost that first round game. They brought the whole team back, and they were loaded. It was just a really good year. And then from that point on, like the world just went 2020, COVID, all this other stuff. Roy retires, Kay retires, like all this stuff kind of happens right after that year. So to me, I'm looking at 2019 as like, ooh, that's the best we've gotten it for like a while. Like, I don't know when we're going to get to that again, when we get 3 1 seeds instead of the national media clowning the ACC as a league as a whole. Like, that's never happened to me in my life. And it feels like it's happening now every year. And I really don't have a retort for it. It's like,
I mean, we did put what three teams in the Elite Eight last year from the ACC.
In the Final Four, yeah. So I mean, 2
in the Final Four. So you can, the media perception, and as Tar Heel fans have seen this year, is not always reality, right?
I can't even sit here and say for sure that Carolina won't get in the tournament because it says Carolina on their jersey. Like, I can sit here and say that. Like, as a matter of fact, Joe Lenardi said it the other night on TV, and he's not supposed to say that. He was like, "Look, look here. If this wasn't Carolina, this was some other like podunk school or whatever, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It's the fact that it's Carolina, and we just saw them do this last year. It's keeping them in the conversation." But it drives me nuts that they have to have their backs against the wall to play like this, which is exactly what happened last year. Yeah. So they could lose by 20 tonight. They could win by 20, and neither outcome would surprise me at all with this team. It's the most insane, weirdly constructed. It's like Hubert is coaching Roy's kids. That's pretty much what it comes down to, and he can't figure out a way to get his own kids out there without losing by 10 because they're so young. Who did you have at power forward, Isaac?
Some guy named Tyler from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. The 2007-2008 version of Mr. Hansbrough, the National Player of the Year, was the 07-08 year. 22.6 points a game, 10.2 rebounds, 80.6% from the free throw line. How about that one? And 54% from the field, just doing everything, running down the court, doing this number.
Yeah,
got it all. So yeah, that's kind of one of those similar to Jay Will. You don't really need to talk the superlatives on it.
I'm a say Tom because I have Tyler Hansbrough at my power forward also. All-time leading scorer, Carolina history. The ultimate college basketball player. That's how I look at Tyler Hansbrough. Like, you knew he wasn't going to. Well, actually, at the time, I was like, he could play 10 years in the NBA. He's not going to be an all-star, but he could get in there, be a bench player, score 8 points a game for a career or whatever, and make $30 million and be done with it. But that's kind of what he did. But he's moved on. He's now in the media, podcasts and stuff like that. I think he's even forgave Gerald Henderson. So Tyler doing his thing.
Tyler Hansbrough, who allegedly keeps you guys from putting John Wall on this list, right?
Allegedly. Yeah. He claims he don't remember it happening or whatever. I think John Wall kind of made all that up.
I didn't quite buy it because John Wall came in 2010, right? He was a freshman in 10. And so why would he have been there?
Because it was on his recruiting visit.
Okay, so the year before.
That would have been 2009. Yeah.
But he said it was like he had just won the national championship. Like his story, the timeline didn't seem like that.
Yeah, you're right. Huh.
Because I'm like, well, if you just won the national championship, you're not visiting there in April or March.
Right. Maybe this is an inappropriate statement, but John Wall does not feel like the type of like personality and player that Roy would have ultimately ended up wanting on his
roster.
roster.
Be honest. He had a run in, something that happened that kept him from Carolina, right?
He's a John Calipari kind of guy.
John Calipari,
What was your kid from Alamance that was supposed to go to Carolina and went to Oklahoma State? You guys remember him?
Yes.
I know I just put you on the spot, but
oh my gosh, I'll remember when we're done.
From Alamance County.
Yep, I can't remember his name right now. He only played a year at Oklahoma State, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, was it Cade Cunningham? Is that who we're talking about?
No. This is
back back around that same time, I think.
12, 13, 14, somewhere in there.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I'm forgetting too now.
Let's real quick because mine was Hansbrough as well. We got centers left. Joshua, you got it.
Josh, steal my thunder once more. I know.
You got
it. This one, are you gonna have the same guy?
This one you can go a few different ways with it. I'm going another retired jersey. I think what's probably one of the most underrated Duke players. I'm going Sheldon Williams.
Yeah,
the landlord. Had a triple double with blocks. I need defense if I'm going to have Jay Will and JJ running around. I need that rim protection. I need a screen setter. Give me Sheldon Williams.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that ain't bad. Isaac, who you got at center?
I kind of had to go with a little bit more above the rim kind of guy too, a little more shot protection, but also somebody who could just put the ball in the bucket. And that's Bryce Johnson's senior year in 2015-16. Similar to what Josh said, I think it's like you would think like, oh, it's going to be Sean May or Brendan Haywood or maybe Tyler Zeller, Kenny Meeks. That Bryce Johnson senior year was something different. 61.4% from the field. Single season rebounding holder until last season when Armando broke it. Just a ridiculous year. 1.5 blocks a game, 1.1 steals a game. First team All-American. You love it.
He that Florida State game where he scored like 44, 22 rebounds or whatever it was, some nonsense. That dude was a problem his senior year. And you kind of saw it building like the end of his junior year. You kind of saw like bits and pieces of it. But by the time he got to senior year, it was his team. Like him and Marcus Page, that was their team. And that probably, along with 84, are the two Carolina teams, 2016 and 1984, the two where I feel like they should have won the national championship. They were ranked number one. They had all the tools, everything you needed for a Carolina national championship contender. And they just fell short in the worst way possible. I actually saw a replay of the Marcus Page shot that I hadn't seen probably since that game. It popped up on Twitter today. And thankfully it stopped right there with like 4 seconds left. So I didn't have to see the rest of it. But yeah, I got Bryce too. So that leaves Dustin with his center choice. Who do you have? Do you have
no, Sheldon? I didn't actually go with Sheldon. So my trend was National Player of the Year. So I went with Elton Brand.
There you go.
Yeah.
So 5 National Player of the Years. Wow. I thought that just made it easy, especially when you go back to 98, you know.
Yeah, I almost went Elton too, but I had to go back-to-back National Defensive Player of the Year, so I went with Sheldon.
I like that too. Yeah.
So, hey, was that Oklahoma State player? Was it James on Curry?
James on Curry.
There we go.
Good job. Good. Excellent work. So the Devil's Den has basically the same team except for its center. Jason Williams at point guard, JJ Redick at shooting guard, Shane Battier at small forward, Zion Williamson at power forward. Josh took Sheldon Williams at center. Dustin took Elton Brand at center. I can't hate either one of those teams.
That's a squad, man.
It's pretty good. Isaac's got Ty Lawson, 09 Ty Lawson at point guard, Shamon Williams at shooting guard, Antoine Jameson at small forward, Tyler Hansbrough at power forward, and Bryce Johnson at center. I had Joel Berry at point guard, Vince Carter at shooting guard, Harrison Barnes at small forward, Tyler Hansbrough at power forward, and Bryce Johnson at center. So I think me and Isaac went more for like offense, it feels like, looking at our lineups, and the Duke guys went more for like national accolades. It feels like who won rings, who won National Player of the Year, who won stuff. We went for like who could jump the highest, like
there you go.
Who could score 40, like that kind of thing. So
and I guess I got 4 retired jerseys. You know, Zion not going up there. So
and honestly, it's so interesting to me that as we think about all the one and dones that have come through, that 4 out of 5 were multi-year guys. I think that's a really neat thing in this era that we're in right now.
Well, granted, most of ours are. I don't think I have one besides Zion past 06, right? JJ, and Sheldon would be 0. So a lot of our guys were in that 98 to 06 range. You know, if I would have threw out some, you know, you could have picked Tatum or Kyrie. Some, you know, if you wanted to go a little bit.
And I guess you got to earn it though. If you're one and done for me, you got to win something to real. And Zion didn't win something, but he was so good that it was like, okay, you broke through. Anybody else, you really the 15 team didn't have enough standout, you know, to where they would fit on a team like this.
And I still feel like with that 15 team, we got robbed. We should have had a Duke Kentucky final. Like it was because Kentucky was trying to be undefeated and ran out of gas against Wisconsin. And
Sam Becker.
That Wisconsin took out Carolina in the Sweet 16 or round of 20. I can't remember which one. It was a couple rounds before. So I mean, I don't know. I felt a certain way. I mean, they won it. You can't say they didn't win it. They won in 2015. When it comes to Zion, though, right now, I'm really rooting for the kid. But I've been saying it since he was at Duke. He's got to lose some weight. Like he can't play at this weight in the NBA. You're running 4 miles a game. He's the size of an NFL left tackle. He's 285, 6'6", maybe.
Yeah, probably 6'6". Yeah, 6'7" if you want to be generous.
Yeah, Barkley was 6'4" at like 250 or something, and like, they were calling him chunky like back in the day, and he was in shape. Like I'm talking like 85, 86 Barkley, like with the 76ers. If Zion can lose, I don't know, The problem is he's in New Orleans. Everything's fried.
Yeah.
New Orleans. It's gonna be impossible.
Good food everywhere. Yeah.
I saw him on that Mountain Dew commercial the other day. I'm like, no, Zion, no. you don't need that, man. Somebody go help him. Because I am rooting for him because he is a generational talent. I hope it doesn't burn out quickly because of things that may be within his control. Let me take a quick break. We're gonna merge the two segment 2 and 3 together. So everyone's getting an extra long segment 2 and 3 here. When we come back, we'll do biggest villains for each one in this rivalry, as well as the one guy from the other side that you couldn't help but like, and then we'll get some predictions on the game itself. Carolina Duke tonight, 6:30 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. We'll be back in just a bit. You listen to the rundown.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
For a limited time only, Culver's of Kernersville brings back Northwoods Walleye Fish. Just in time for Lent season, Culver's Northwoods Walleye Sandwich is a fried-to-order battered Northwoods walleye fillet, tartar sauce, and shredded lettuce on a lightly buttered toasted hoagie roll. Or grab the dinner with the fillet of choice of 2 sides and a warm dinner roll. Only available for a limited time. Stop by Culver's of Kernersville today. 1780 Pecan Lane in Kernersville. Find your next car at Auto Store of North Carolina in Walkertown. Their goal is to make car shopping and car buying experience fast, friendly, and easy. They have helped hundreds of customers get behind the wheel of a newer, reliable, quality used car, and they could help you too. Stop by and speak with one of their sales professionals today and drive away with your new car. The Auto Store of North Carolina, 4964 Reedsville Road in Walkertown. Give them a call at 336-595-8550 and view the current inventory of vehicles at autostoreofnc.com.
Pardon me, D-Dot here, and as the voice of the Greensboro Swarm, PA for the Hornets, and the sixth man of Carolina basketball, I do it all, just like Beamer Tire and Auto. Alignments, new tires, NC State inspections, oil changes, they do it all. And with 3 locations in High Point, Greensboro, and Kernersville, B-Dot and B-Tar, yes, we do it all. If you need details, visit BeamerTire.com.
Are you concerned that if you passed away today, that your family would be left in a financial bind? Are you concerned that your nest egg is quickly eroding in the stock market? Do you want life insurance but confused about how to get it and if you would qualify? That's where I come in. My name is Terry Edwards with Secure Financial Partners, and I've been helping families over the last matter most, your life, your health, and your wealth. Give me a call today, Terry Edwards, 336-416-8327. Again, that's 336-416-8327. Your legacy is worth the call.
You deserve to get good service and great rates. At State Farm, we get it. And we're here to help because with every State Farm policy, you get good neighbor service and you get surprisingly great rates. So what are you waiting for? Get going and talk to a local State Farm agent about your surprisingly great rates today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
When you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Susanna Nunn in Kernersville today.
This is Terry Rozier, and you're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson on Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM.
Welcome back into The Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM. Every Saturday morning live, 11 o'clock to 12 noon, getting you ready for your noon tip-offs, baseball games, whatever you got to go out and do on a Saturday. You can check in with us first and get your weekend right on the sports side. With me, it's all UNC Duke Day. UNC Duke tipping off 6:30 tonight on ESPN. It's the regular season finale. ACC tournament in Greensboro next week. I'll actually be out there with JP Mundy. I think we're going to the Wednesday session because if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday will have 4 games where you'll have Wake Forest, NC State, North Carolina, and Duke in 4 separate games, which hasn't happened, I think, in a few years now. So definitely going to go to that. I'm hoping Carolina's in the early session, but we'll find out what's happening with that. They need a couple of those games.
Duke can still move up in the double bye, can't they?
Yeah, we're still hoping if
thought I saw they can still get the 2 seed or something. A couple things.
I mean, that's you know,
is that gone now?
Like 10 things have to happen.
Yeah,
but like I mean,
you got to get Coach K to do like 3 laps, you know, around Durham on his bicycle. You know, there's a lot of things that have to happen.
Let me ask you guys this. This is actually, I'm gonna pull outside the AC, just college basketball in general. While I got you guys here, do you feel like college basketball is like it's changed since the NIL stuff? Like, it feels like I can't get into it sometimes. Like, sometimes I'll watch a game and I don't even know who's playing, like, on the teams. Like, there's no familiarity with some of these teams. There's no de facto number one. Duke and Carolina aren't even ranked. You got NC State fans out here beating their chests for some reason. Like, they're feeling good about themselves. That never happened. So it's like we're in the upside down. Like, what happened? Like, what do you think needs to happen? Has it been like weak classes like the past couple of years, or I'm just, since I'm feeling this whole, like, the regular season feels different than it used to. Maybe it's because it's just so bloated now. But like, the tournament's been still great. Tournament. Last year, you know, great tournament. Year before, fine. But I don't know. That was just my thoughts. I'm sitting there watching. I'm just like,
I don't know if mine has anything to do with NIL. I think it's more been like, and Josh and I ran about like the officiating across the board. Like,
gosh, yeah,
it's just been horrendous. You know, even, you know, as a staunch Duke fan, the charge that Leaky Black got called, if I forgot who they were playing, but
Pittsburgh.
I saw that and I was like, that is like comical that you can keep your job after making that call.
They're consistently inconsistent. But
Man,
that's how they've been all year.
it's brutal.
It's been brutal.
It's brutal.
And I don't mind if
It
you're
makes
gonna
it
call
almost
a
hard to
certain
watch.
way. Yeah, if you're going to call it a certain way, just call it that way the whole game. Don't change it in the last 2 minutes to accommodate whatever's going on with the score. If you're going to call it, you know, where they can play a little bit, let them play the whole game. If you're going to call fouls, call them early. Like, let the players figure out how you're going to do this instead of Ted Valentine in this and just kind of trying to hijack the TV show.
Your question for me, it's less specifically about NIL and more about the transfer portal. And it's a combination of that and NIL. And keep in mind, we still have classes of guys with COVID eligibility. Like, we've still got it's not this year's seniors, this year's juniors still have an opportunity to utilize COVID year. And so it just makes roster management very difficult. And that's making
Armando was talking about. That's how you can come back for another year. Yeah.
Exactly. And so nationally, then we have all these schools that are just taking longer in the year to figure out cohesion and chemistry and who are we. And I think it's leading to this point where it's taken teams into January and February before they can really gel.
That's a good point too.
Yeah, and us as Duke fans, you know, like, it's nothing new to have 11 brand new guys, but a starting 5. We've been doing a new starting 5 since
But that burns us out too, right? I mean,
yeah.
roster turnover in general across the board has been really kind of allowed me to check out. I don't know who I'm
you guys
watching.
talk about that in terms of, like, yes, you love having who wouldn't want all the 5-star recruits to come in there, but you don't like having to learn a new starting lineup every year. After a while, and I can see I could wear Coach K down after a while, having to do that because that's a different level of recruiting.
Well, and everything feels so monumental, right? Because you know you got these guys for 6 months only,
right?
And so every loss is like, oh, every tournament loss is catastrophic because you know they're not coming back for the grind. Why would you? You know, you offer me $10 million, I'll quit my job today.
And I did see Shire did kind of.
He wants to pivot a little bit from the revolving door, which you know, we knew was going to have to happen. Like, you couldn't just keep this going. But you know, you named all those, or didn't name, but you know, gave a list of however many McDonald's All-Americans we've had. How many have stayed for 4 years, Josh? Like Allen,
Grayson
Emil, Quinn Cook. There's not been many. I mean, you could name them on one hand almost out of the 40 or 50 we've had. You don't get them for 4 years.
Well, and Des, this is free for you, but I'll make your segue. It's harder for me to have as many villains on Duke's rosters now because you don't learn them year after year after year.
Yes,
and like I know a lot of Carolina people. Like, I'm having to be the one to, like, okay, here's, like, explain Duke's roster to people because they just don't know. And I mean, it's the same with Kentucky, obviously, as well. But I think, like, as I name through villains, it's all going to be guys who are not one and dones because they just don't have time to build up that hate equity, if I can use that word.
Let's go ahead and start this haters ball off right now.
All hot tubs cold out here, bro.
Let's start off biggest villains in this rivalry for you. Growing up as a kid, you probably had somebody you rooted against on the other side. Because I think, like Isaac said, I think we're kind of heading that way where we're not going to have a whole lot of them that are past 2011, 2012, probably. Well, some of the Carolina kids were staying at least 3 years, but from that point on, if you were a 5-star at Duke, you were probably gone after year one. So it made it a little bit harder to hate. But you did mention one a minute ago that I'm pretty sure is going to make this list. Isaac, let's start the hate with you. Who's the biggest villain in this rivalry to you that's a player?
Well, part of it for me is I realized as I was thinking through this, I have to separate national Duke villains from rivalry Duke villains, because there's guys like Christian Laettner who I think would be more of a national villain, like the stomp in the Kentucky game, right? Whereas somebody like I'm not saying he's not a Carolina. Hear me not say
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but like somebody like Gerald Henderson, who we talked about earlier, he's not going to be a national villain, but he is to Carolina people because of the Hansborough thing, and so that's part of it for me. But for me growing up outside of Laettner, it's got to be JJ Redick. It's just he always felt, and I know he's not, but he just felt schmarmy to me. And
like
he was better than you, and he knew it, which congrats, like that's awesome for you. But he rankled me.
Rankled you.
And so and I would also give Wojo. It's like he's the innocuous one on the group.
Oh God!
But it was the floor slapping. It just drove me batty. And he's such a good player, and I think that's part of it. Is it's guys that are really good.
Let me ask the Devil's Den real quick, because I was racking my brain on this the other day. The last time I can remember, Duke slapping the floor, and it's not like they do it as often anymore. Is that right, or am I just kind of?
They've done it a handful of times, but it's not. It's not 98. It's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say like back in the day, like the later
Sean, McLeod, all those guys.
Yeah, you knew what it was when they started slapping the floor.
Now it's choreographed. It's like clearly we're gonna do it. It used to be in the moment of the game, like we just got a bucket. I'm about to lock you up, and I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna lock you up.
I'm gonna take y'all back to a moment in time where it was like this is the last time I actually remember seeing it, but it wasn't Duke doing it. They were getting it done on them.
Yeah,
the 2014 Miami squad that was running through the ACC, and they were in Miami. Shane Larkin and those boys had Warren Sapp in the crowd, standing around the court, and they got up by like 25 or something in the second half. And I'm watching this game on my TV in the living room, and all of a sudden I see all the Miami players start slapping the floor, and I was like, wow. Like we don't even do that. Like Carolina don't even like slap the floor. They might have done it a couple of times, but it don't really cross their mind to do it. It was like Miami, like one of them did it, and the rest were like, oh yeah, and they all started.
And they backed it up. I mean, that team, Kenny Kaji, wasn't he on that team? Like the power forward,
but they didn't back it up though. To me,
26 years old on that team.
If you're gonna slap the floor up 25, that's a coward's move.
Yeah,
do it at the beginning, bro. Do
like
it when it's time.
Says in The Last Dance, it's it takes a man to talk smack at 0-0, you talk smack up 8 or whatever, that's different. Or talk smack to me when you're down, then that's different. But up 25, then that's a different story. I'll get you guys together here. Biggest villains for you guys from the Carolina side all time for you. Like who's the guys that stand out where you're just like, I can't stand that guy. I wish he would go home.
I guess I'll go first because I'm older than Josh, so that makes sense. So mine's easy. As a kid, this is in your stage where you're kind of impressionable. Rasheed Wallace, man. I couldn't stand
Rasheed.
Wow,
really? Yeah, I guess I could see it. Yeah.
He was so damn good, and Duke had that year, 95, that we weren't very good. Obviously, Kay had the back surgery and all that. We just had a lot of close games that we didn't win that year. The Carolina Duke game was one of the best games.
Double overtime.
Yeah, in the rivalry. We were on the wrong end of it, but
a lot of people think they won that game because
you think a Cable shot, you think you win it, but that sent it to overtime.
I'm like, no, they didn't. Right, they did not win that game. But
Rasheed just every dunk, you'd think it was the first time he ever dunked the basketball. So
I would love it. He would scream like it was this Rasheed Wallace scream. He would just and like.
So Bryce Johnson was a close second because he was like almost the carbon copy of that. But I remember Dean saying that Rasheed Wallace was the most talented player he ever had at one point.
I could see that. Number one coming out of Philly in high school. That was right there at the end where Dean had that recruiting pipeline going. Like, I mean, you got think of the classes to this day, I always tell folks, Dean missed out on having maybe the craziest starting five of all time. And it would have been 94, 95 when he could have had starting for him Jeff McInnes at point, Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace as your starting five. But Wallace and Stackhouse left after sophomore year as Carter and Jameson were coming in. And you would have like Dante Calabria and bench. But that starting five would have, I can't even wrap my mind around like how that would have even worked. But yeah.
Well, Dean didn't play a lot of freshmen. That was one of his things, and that was the knock on that 94 team is that Rasheed and Stackhouse were a lot more talented than some of the guys that were playing in front of them. And
Wicker and
you had kind of that locker room chemistry. It's not an easy thing to juggle. Anytime
remnants of the 93 championship team, coming back, and this top ranked recruiting class coming in, they clashed. And I think if I'm not mistaken, that was right around the time Dean really started thinking about retiring, because he was like, the kids are changing. And we just heard this with Roy. Roy said the same thing. Kay said similar things where the generation, the kids are wired a little bit differently. And if you can't reach them the same way anymore, maybe that's the sign to get out. What about you, Josh? Who's your villain?
Yeah, a few years later, and to me, it's Chris Lang. I could not stand
Chris Lang.
Chris Lang. Yes,
what did he do?
I love that guy. Maybe it was just because I was a kid around, not a kid, I was like 12 or whatever, and we're just watching it. I hated those Carolina teams, and to me, I just picked him out as being the tall, goofy white guy from Gastonia, and was like, I hate you, bro.
I used to winning team. He was
but Forte followed it up for me too, and I really hated Forte too. So
it's funny you picked Chris Lang, because I used to joke I'd be like, Chris Lang, the owner of one offensive move. He had that baby hook. That was like the only thing he ever did.
Chris Lang, wow, you went blast for the past. Like we don't even talk about that era, like at Carolina, that little stretch.
Didn't they have the uniform with the NC?
It was so bad.
The 1920s jerseys or whatever.
Except for when Jason Capel brings it up, then we talk about it.
Yeah, then we Mine's gonna be Jason Capel. No, I've got
that'd be an interesting conversation though. Is if you were a Duke fan, which Carolina player would be your most like?
Yeah, and it would probably. We have a couple to choose from too. Like we got a little list. I would. It's Christian Laettner. I'm 45. It's Christian Laettner. Like literally.
Still hating. Yep. Well,
I still hate this dude. Like if I saw him in Walmart, like we would have words. Like I don't. He caused so much sadness like in college basketball. Unless you were a Duke fan, I hate that dude. I don't even need to explain. I don't like Christian Laettner.
What's funny is, you guys didn't like Laettner, you didn't like JJ. I was the guy that they weren't my favorite players on the Duke team from the Duke side. Like Laettner, that team, I was more Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, even Billy McCaffrey before he transferred over to Vandy.
Over Billy.
Yeah. And then JJ's team, man, I love Daniel Ewing. Like when Daniel Ewing was there, he was just swagged out. So everybody loved JJ, and I like JJ, but he wasn't my favorite on the team.
Well, Dustin, where are you at on Grayson Allen?
Yeah.
Man, that's
starting for the Milwaukee Bucks right now. I did not realize that till Saturday. I'm like, what?
Grayson is one of the, I guess he's not our version of Caleb Love, but he's similar to that. Just a conundrum.
Interesting. That's
because he had all the talent to have his jersey in the rafters, what he was putting up at Duke. Stayed 4 years. After his sophomore year, Josh and I had talked about it. He averaged like 22. He had one of the best like PER ever as a sophomore, and then came back as a junior. Josh and I subsequently bought Final Four tickets in March of that year, and then watched Carolina go on to cut out the net. So that was a bad move on our part. Yeah, we don't talk about that anymore.
Y'all still could have went.
But yeah, I mean, if he wouldn't have, obviously, he had his issues, and it was unfortunate because I like the kid. He came in as a freshman. I thought he was a big catalyst in us winning that 15 team.
What happened last year? Where do you guys have Caleb Love?
I was gonna say if we were going more modern,
Yeah, he
Bryce
would be.
Johnson is way up
Bryce,
on my list.
Bryce is up there. Yeah,
the loudest guy ever just yelled after everything he did. Just annoyed me. But Caleb's up there, right? I mean, the shot he made in the Final Four, and then I turn around and watch him airball the same shot against Kansas, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
We know. We say the
you
same
gotta
thing.
be
You got to
kidding
be
me,
kidding.
dude.
You got to.
I mean, I was in New Orleans and he hit that shot, and I just got up. My wife's a Carolina fan. I just got up. Hey, meet me at the car. You know?
I'm out. I'm out.
You know, the comparison actually that I've had for Caleb Love that burns my soul. He's our Austin Rivers. He has one of the biggest shots in the program's history against the rival.
Sure.
Yeah. He also would play in ways that would play you out of games in terms of just jacking 10 threes and not stopping, even though he's missed 9 of them. Just maybe going to me mode every now and then. Kind of wish he had already left, you know, but then there's times where it's like he does something. You're like, oh, thank God we got that guy. Caleb Love is our Austin Rivers.
What do you call it, Josh? Irrational confidence?
Sometimes, just irrational confidence, right? Doesn't matter what they do.
30-foot threes. You're not everybody's Steph Curry. Like not everyone is Trae Young.
But when he's hitting,
but when they're hitting, the offense looks great.
You know, for Caleb, you know, he can have the worst season ever when he comes to see that Duke across. You know, he's going to average like 23. It's almost. And I thought maybe you guys would mention Tyus Jones as one of your most hated because you know he only played you twice, but he had 2 really. I think he averaged 23, and then he had the
free throw line. Both Jones brothers really
long enough to build the hate. If he was a 4-year guy, absolutely. He probably.
We were hoping he would at least be a 3-year guy, you know.
Yeah.
But he won a natty, so hey,
you win
man,
a natty, you can go.
Yeah,
I'll drive you to there.
Services are done. Yeah. Who I want to say real quick, one player from the other side that you can't help but like. Real quick, let's go around with that because we still need to throw our predictions in for this game before we hop out of here.
I have several. I'll just kind of roll through them right quick. And I'm surprised nobody took him as Joe's point guard. I loved Kendall Marshall. I loved watching that dude play. His ability to move the ball without moving. Like y'all ran so quickly, and he's not a fast player because he was just able to move the ball. And it was just really fun to watch. The other guy is Kobe White, man. Maybe it was the hair, being a bald guy, but he had that swag. He was what Caleb Love wants to be, you know, the efficient version of being able to come off a high ball screen and just bury a 30-footer in your face. I liked watching him play.
I saw Kobe White,
and he's still doing it in Chicago.
I went and did the Josh Level Classic his senior year of high school here in Greensboro at Dudley. I called that game for Netcast Sports, and it was the first time I saw him. And he was playing against I think it was the Langley twins. They were on the other side, and he was hitting everything, but we weren't really keeping track of the score. When it was over, he had 40 points, and we were like, "What? Like, how does he have 40 points?" So that introduced me to Kobe White. So I kind of
knew fast too.
He grew too over that summer. Like if he could have stayed sophomore year, man, he's one of those that left a little too early for me. Isaac, who's that player from Duke that you just can't help but like?
I'm the same as Josh. I got a couple, and I could honestly probably build it out past this, but I got 4. Cherokee Parks. I have always loved Cherokee Parks.
Add it up now, bro.
Add it up now, too. Yeah.
So Cherokee Parks, Battier, like just a consummate teammate, great dude. I think, and then the other 2 guys, kind of in that same vein, would be the Alaskan assassin, Trajan Langdon.
Let's go.
Right, and then Grant Hill. Grant Hill,
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You can't hate on Grant Hill.
Except for Grant, I hated them all. And any of them. Especially made me forget about Langdon, man. Wow, you brought back, man, I haven't thought about him in a long time. He was kind of like JJ before JJ, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
a lot of similarities to Kobe White after we just talked about him, how they play the combo guard. You come off a high ball screen, and he's going to bury you if you go under.
That's good stuff, Isaac. Who you got, Dustin?
So mine's kind of weird because, you know, my villain was Rasheed, but I actually grew to love Rasheed after he left Carolina. You know, all don't lie. You know, you got to love Rasheed. And look, man, I'm a hothead on the basketball court too. You know,
you relate.
Yeah, I'm getting technicals. You know, I might not get 47 or however many he gets in the season, but
I think he still has the record for like
most technical fouls
in the NBA season.
Yeah. Oh,
I think Draymond might have broke it by now, but yeah.
So she. Vince, obviously, you know, once Vince left Carolina, you couldn't hate on Vince. It was, you know, I think I had the poster of him dunking over the French guy. You know,
the Olympics
slam. my Slam, the Slam magazines used to have the poster.
Yeah.
I had that up in my my dorm in college. So
man, and MJ doesn't count. MJ he has risen above college stuff. It's hard to even associate him that far back. So I didn't go with him.
Honestly, I keep coming back to Grant Hill. I actually was rooting for him at Duke senior year. It was after Leitner and Hurley and those guys had already graduated, cleared out. It was Grant Hill and a bunch of dudes pretty much. And he willed them to the Final Four in Charlotte. And if they hadn't ran into that Arkansas team at 40 minutes of hell, Nolan Richardson, they probably would have won 3 out of 4 years. And it was just like, I grew to love his game. And then when he got to the pros, the first 3 years of him in the pros, he was like the anointed one. He was like the next dude. Like they were calling him the next Jordan. And like his playing style was like stiff but fluid. Like he knew where he was going and he could get there, but it wasn't nothing really fluid about him. But the way he looked when he did it looked cool. And he had a spring. He had a first step.
Young Grant had bunnies, dude.
He crossed over point forward. Had the fresh Pistons. When they changed that,
the old school Pistons jersey.
You got to have the Felines. They had 96. If you didn't have the Felines, get off my squad.
They had Grant, Jerry Stackhouse on the same squad. What? And then injuries, man. Injuries just kind of derailed.
His ankles kind of just obliterated.
We are like literally out of time, but we didn't even get predictions for this game. So real quick, tell me what the headline's going to be Sunday morning. UNC Duke, 6:30 p.m. ESPN. Carolina kind of needs it. Duke doesn't necessarily need it, but after last year, I would think Duke would want it. So give me what you think is going to happen in this game. Starting off with you, Josh.
I'm going to tell you what I want to happen, right? So my headline is going to be what a difference a year makes. And it's going to be from going to retiring K to maybe we just put you in the NIT. And that's where I'm going to roll with it. And the rivalry needs it. I think it's some good. It's not quite a balance, but it's a step in that direction. So that's where I'm headed.
That's good. Isaac.
My headline is powered by lemon Oreos.
Yeah. How are those? I've never had them.
Oh, they're so good.
Are they really?
No, I love lemon, but whatever. Anyway, powered by lemon Oreos. Armando Bacot has a massive game and Carolina wins.
Dustin?
I mean, similar to Josh, Duke puts the final nail in the coffin. We've been on this revenge tour, beating Virginia Tech, beating State, exacting some revenge. And although we don't have revenge on Carolina this year, let's do a little something for the last year.
Mine is going to be Carolina keeps their postseason hopes alive, and it's going to be someone we don't expect that's going to either have a big game or hit a big shot. It could be I'm thinking like a Dontrez Styles, Derek, Dunn, excuse me, something along Jalen Washington hits a 10-footer, something weird where you didn't expect that guy to be the guy. The rivalry kind of does that, kind of makes guys that, after they hit those shots. This feels like it sets up for that. Baycott's going to have a double-double. He does that every night pretty much, except for the other night when he only had 1 point. But yeah, I feel like for me, it's the B-Dot effect. My buddy B-Dot, he's the official sixth man of Carolina basketball. Since he took over that role 2 seasons ago, Carolina's only lost at home 3 times. 2 of those times were to Pitt. 1 of those times was to Duke. So everything else they've won. So they have an extreme home court advantage when B-Dot's in the house. He will be there. B-Dot effect. So I'm going with that. I hope that we see. Who knows? They might see each other again the next week in Greensboro. The way the brackets look, so we might get to do this all over again next week, which is the fun part about the rivalry. But
we got to throw a Miami loss in there from a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah. So I mean, they play different at home. They play way better. They shoot better. They're more confident at home. Similar to Duke. Duke same way this year. Duke undefeated at home. Different team on the road. So
which Carolina team shows up? The one that goes 14 of 29 or the one that goes 2 of 23?
That, Dustin, is where we're going to end because we don't even know. And that's what's been driving Carolina fans nuts. We have no idea. We don't know who's stepping off the bus, and they're getting off the bus from their dorm a block away. We have no idea what they're going to do. I'm hoping they're up for it. Typically, they kind of play up to competition and they play down to competition. So hopefully they'll give us a good game. Just give us a good game at least. That's what we want. That's all we want. Just
a blowout would surprise me either way. A blowout would surprise me either way.
Yeah, that hardly ever happens.
Unless you do go 14 of 28, then I'll shake your hand and just what are you going to do?
If that happens, I'm just tearing up throwing it away. I'm not even going to do a bracket for March Madness that. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, fitting rollout music, Des. I like that.
Yeah.
Daylight tomorrow. Daylight day tomorrow, everybody.
Daylight day. Yes, absolutely. Hey, go stream Daylight online all day. The whole catalog is up. So definitely go do that. It's the rundown. We'll see you guys next Saturday.